The Warframe Devstream live from Tokyo Game Show just concluded, and we have a metric ton to talk about. We have the new Warframe KOUMEI, we have tons of reworks, not just Caliban, but multiple frames at the same time. We have the second part of the Companion Rework, which completely overhauls anything that we thought was a given with companions. We got quality of life, Warframe 1999 news, and so much more. So, after a huge shout out to all our generous channel members who helped me keep the lights on, let's jump right into it, and just in case I sound a bit tired, I am. It's 4 AM right here. And I know you're all here primarily to learn about the new Warframe KOUMEI, so why don't we just start with her right away. KOUMEI is a super crazy and interesting concept for Warframe because she will be completely based on RNG, and I can imagine some absolute madness going on here. Her passive ability is that one of your weapons will start dealing random status effects. Next, whenever you cast a skill, KOUMEI will roll 5 dice, and if 3 of those 5 dice happen to be 6s, then the ability that you cast will get a much stronger version of it. The first ability, if I understand it right, creates an AoE with strings in the level around you, and when an enemy touches one of these strings, they stumble and they also receive a random status effect. So a bit of an AoE status primer. However, if you cast this with 3 6s, then every enemy that touches the strings will get 1 stack of every single status effect in the game. Yes, 9 out of 10 condition overloads do like that skill. Ability number 2. You will get a little challenge for in your mission, and if you complete that, you will get a decree from Deviri for that mission that you're currently running. Yes, that's pretty cool, and if you do a 666, that means you just get the decree for free, no challenge needed. Ability number 3 will be KOUMEI's main tool of survivability. It kinda looks a bit like Corvex, where you get so-called Omamori charges around you, and these charges make it that whenever you take damage, you have a chance that this damage actually doesn't damage you, but rather it heals you. How high exactly that chance is, they didn't tell us, but what they did say is that if you cast this with a 666, then you will be invincible for the entire duration of that skill, with grey health bar and everything. Yeah. Is it just me, or does it smell like Mesmer skin here? And finally, the fourth ability will create a cone in front of you where enemies will be put into strings like they are little puppets, so they can't move, can't do anything, and they will also receive status effects over time while they are in these strings. If you cast it with a 666, then the cone applies also to enemies behind you. Now, in my personal opinion, from the demo that we saw, it kinda looks like this fourth ability might maybe be the helmet slot, because it, to me, looks like the least interesting for now. However, once KOUMEI comes out, we're of course gonna take a look at that. By the way, leave a sub if you don't want to miss out on my Day 1 KOUMEI guide. And speaking about when she comes out, when will KOUMEI and the Five Fates, the new update that introduces KOUMEI, be launched? Well, good news, it's just a couple more days, because next week on Wednesday, October the 2nd, this is going to be the release date of the update and pretty much everything that we're about to talk in the rest of the video. But now, obviously the question arises, how will you be able to get KOUMEI? Let's also quickly talk about that. KOUMEI will be the Shrine Maiden of Cetus, so her acquisition will be Cetus based. From what they said, we can expect the regular, so to speak. There will be a new game mode surrounding Cetus, and from that game mode you can get KOUMEI, you can get her signature weapons, and there will also be a new resource, which I assume will work like just in all the other Warframe updates, where you can purchase stuff that you didn't get from the drops with a certain vendor from that new resource. They did say she will be available early on, so even new players will get the chance to probably farm her pretty early, but there will also be a Steel Path version of this mission, so I would assume that if you do that, maybe you have better odds at getting stuff out of it, but I'm just purely speculating here. KOUMEI also comes with 2 signature weapons, one of them being a primary, a gun umbrella, that has the ability to open up a shield, kind of a bit like a mini vault shield in front of you, and there will also be a pole arm that gets random buffs. Both of these weapons will also receive Nightwave augments further down the line, so be pumped for this. And by the way, if you could maybe drop a like for the video, that would be amazing because it helps me big time with the YouTube algorithm, so cheers so much for your support. So much for the new signature Warframe KOUMEI, but there is so much more to come in the update. Let's for 1 minute talk about the fashion frame because we all know that is the endgame. With KOUMEI and the Five Fates, we will get multiple new deluxe skins. One of them being the Volt Raijin skin, which is certainly Oni themed, very cool. This one comes with a new Signa and a new Ephemera as well. A Nova Deluxe skin, which is absolutely gorgeous. Just look at that, it's crazy. The details on this, love it. Also, Nova comes with the Signa and this beautiful ephemera right here. I think they've really outdone themselves. And finally, we have the Caliban Orfeo skin with a new Scythe skin and also his ephemera with the little dead ghosts under his feet. And speaking of Caliban, how about we get into all the Warframe reworks that they announced? I mean, they said they would announce the Caliban rework in this show, and they did. We're going to talk about that. But there are also multiple other frame reworks that I had no idea about, including Nova, including Wukong, including Hildryn. There is a lot. Let's jump right into it, starting with probably the biggest rework out of all of them, that being the Caliban one. First off, Caliban's passive is pretty much unchanged, but it now gathers stacks when Caliban is immune, similar to adaptation. Next, they introduced an entirely new status effect to Warframe, that being Tau, and this status effect makes it that enemies affected by Tau are more likely to receive other status effects. So it's kind of like a passive status chance buff. Why am I saying that? Because Caliban's abilities are now focused around dealing Tau damage. For example, his Razor Gyre, now he Beyblades over the field with a lot more velocity for every enemy that it hits. Caliban will get healed for 20 health, and if your health is overflowing, then this becomes actually shield, so I might smell some shield gating potential here. Razor Gyre will also refund 25% of the ability's energy cost when hitting an enemy. This to me sounds a bit like Nidus, where you can actually go for negative efficiency to hit multiple enemies and therefore gain more energy back than you initially cast. We're gonna take a look at how that works once he's out, but it sounds kinda cool. Next, we have Sentient's Wrath, which has been streamlined, so now enemies are not floating away anymore. There is no target cap anymore. Tau status damage and effect will be applied with a 35% damage vulnerability, and there's also going to be increased status effect. So, all in all, this sounds like a really good crowd control now. Okay, let's come to the big one, summoning your Sentients. Now, there will be 3 different types of Sentients that you can spawn in, one melee-focused, one ranged-focused, and one portal-based type that kinda distracts the enemies a bit, if I understood it right. Now, there is a lot about each and every one of them, and I don't want to get too much into the details right here because it would completely overblow the scope of this video. There is a dev workshop in the Warframe forums. I'm going to put you a link in the description down below if you want to read through it yourself. But all in all, these Sentients will be much more useful in combat, probably deal more damage too, and also they will help you inflict more Tau status effect. As for Caliban's 4th ability, this one now also has been streamlined where it's going to be easier to strip away the armor and the defenses of your enemies, deal more damage, and in general, it looks much more viable, so I wouldn't be all that sure if we still want to helmet this one off. So much for Caliban. I know, surface level, but we're going to get more into him once the rework launches. We're going to have a full updated Caliban guide, so look forward to that. But now I want to also talk about the other Warframes that will receive reworks, starting out with Wukong, who unfortunately will get nerfed a second time. Like he last time was nerfed a little bit with the ammo changes, but now there's going to be another nerf. One thing being that Celestial Stomp no longer stuns crowd control immune enemies. I don't think that's going to be too big of a hit. However, unfortunately with Cloudwalker, you know, our favorite mobility tool, in the future we will not be able to recast it the moment this cloud form ends, but we will actually have to wait until the heavy slam animation is done, and only then can we cast it again. This will unfortunately make our movement in the cloud form much less seamless and ground Wukong if you so want. To be honest, I wasn't aware that this is a problem, but you know, I don't want to get too deep into the reasoning as to why this change has been made. Just please be civil in the comments down below. But don't worry, we also have good news because Hildryn is also going to get some nice quality of life changes. First off, Balefire Charger will cost less shields and therefore will be more viable to use. And second, if you activate Aegis Storm, Balefire Charger is now automatically equipped, and also Aegis Storm is now much more fluid regarding ability use and movement. Hildryn can now use Pillage or any helmet abilities while Aegis Storm is active, so that's definitely nice. And we have more maximum speed. Furthermore, deactivating Aegis Storm now makes Hildryn invincible for a short period of time to prevent dying mid-animation, which is certainly a great, especially for higher level Steel Path. And finally, because we get a new Nova skin with the next update, they also gave Nova quite a decent rework, about which I want to talk now. First off, she will get a completely new passive. When you take out an enemy that is slowed, this enemy has a 15% chance to drop a health orb. If you take out an enemy that is sped up, then you have a 15% chance of an energy orb. Next, Null Star. First of all, this ability is now recastable, very nice because this is her main source of damage reduction. The base particle count will be increased from 6 to 12, which also means that hitting the 18 particles that are needed to gain 90% damage reduction is now going to be much easier. But not just that, the damage reduction from Null Star now also applies to shields and not only health like it was previously. And in case you actually use them for damage dealing, they now do blast instead of slash damage, and they also do a bit more of that. Her ability Antimatter Drop also received some reworks. Tapping the ability while an orb is active will now massively increase the speed at which it zooms towards the enemy, which also means that only one Antimatter Drop can be cast at a time now. Its damage type will be changed from Radiation to Blast with a 100% status chance, and you now only need 5 shots to fully charge this. As for her third ability, Wormhole, they removed the duration entirely, and now there's only charges. By default, you can use any portal 4 times, and there will be 4 little dots over the portal indicating how many charges are left. Also, if you hold the ability, you will see where the portal will actually end up leading you, so you can plan a bit better ahead of time. The, in my opinion, biggest change though is going to be Molecular Prime, Nova's ultimate ability, where going forward, we will not have to mod Nova into negative ability strength anymore to speed enemies up. No, Molecular Prime will now have a tap-hold function where we can choose on the fly whether we want to have the slow or the speed. This is absolutely amazing, and live chat was also going crazy once Pablo announced this. Also, the base slow and speed effect has been changed from 30 to 50%, so it's much stronger right off the bat. Bonus damage multiplier now applies to overguard, health, and shields. And taking out a primed enemy will have a 20% status chance to proc blast on nearby foes, so I can imagine quite a little bit of carnage there. So yeah. All in all, there will be quite a lot of Warframe reworks in the KOUMEI and the 5 Fates update. I can't wait for it, and I'm gonna make sure that besides KOUMEI, of course, we're gonna have an updated Caliban guide as well as a Nova guide going over all the new changes and providing some nice builds for you. It's gonna be a very, very busy week for me, it seems. But you know what? That's not even gonna be the only thing for me to do, because there is so much more about which we're gonna talk now. First of all, there are 5 new Incarnon weapons. You see them on screen right here. If you have ribbons for them, either keep them or sell them for a high price once they launch. But the, in my opinion, much bigger thing would be the Companion 2.0 rework Part 2. Remember, last year we had the first part introducing the bond mods and generally making companions more survivable. The next part of this rework is going to be focused on making our companions much more viable offensively, giving us more options for them to attack the enemy, and tons of new mods and functions and everything. So let's talk about what we learned today. First and foremost, they finally announced what they're going to change to Smidas. I mean, they have announced it a long time ago that they don't like the way that Smida Kavats work, and I think it's a bit overpowered. Now they have finally told us how they're going to change it, so let's take a look at it. First of all, the credit buff from Smida won't be changed at all. The XP buff will be even stronger than before, if I understood it right, so that's going to be great for speed leveling our Warframe. As for the resource drop buff, this will be completely removed from the Smida and be turned into a mod that you can now put on every beast-type companion in the game. This mod will make it that, unlike before where you had a time frame in which every resource pickup was doubled, now this one is active constantly, and whenever you pick up a resource, there will be a certain chance that this resource pickup will be doubled. I'm not sure about you, but to me, this doesn't sound as bad as I initially thought it would be. And by the way, if you equip this mod onto the Smida, it will have a higher chance to get the double resource pickup, so there's still an incentive to go for the Smida when resource farming. Next, now they're going to change it that every companion will have a weapon, also the beast companions, not just the sentinels, and any type of mod that is focused around the companion attacking the enemy will now not be modded onto the companion, but actually onto the companion weapon, freeing up some mod slots on your main companion and therefore outsourcing that to their weapon. These companion weapons now will also have a posture mod, which is basically like a stance mod for your companion weapon, and the posture mods that you can insert there will influence how the companion is going to fight, like for example, focus on high value targets like Eximus units or something in that direction. And this is in my opinion really big news, most of the companion weapons are going to be overhauled, giving them new functions and better 2024-like stats, so it's not just going to be the Verglass, the other companion weapons now will also be much more viable going forward, so I can't wait to see what we're going to be able to get out of this. And finally, 20 companion preset mods, the companion abilities, will also be overhauled so that they're not going to be as niche anymore and just generally more useful overall. Now, before we go into Warframe 1999, there will be way more UI-related quality of life improvements. You can read more about that in the Warframe forums. There is a dev workshop out on that. Also, Tactical Potato, a couple of days ago, made a detailed video on this topic alone, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. And they also said we're going to have cross-trading and cross-gifting across all platforms with the next update, so that is definitely good news. As for Warframe Mobile on Android, we also got a little tidbit of information where Sheldon said that later this year in an upcoming dev stream, we will finally get the official release date of Warframe Mobile for Android, so if you're looking forward to that, you're soon gonna have your information. And finally, let's also talk about Warframe 1999. First and foremost, we will get a playable demo for Warframe 99 that will be playable in Warframe on October 16th. It's going to be an extermination mission, and we're also going to get to drive the Atomocycle, so stay tuned for that. We have some more visuals on Site 09, the Sniper Warframe, and they also disclosed that one of his abilities will be an Exalted Sniper Rifle. And finally, they showed some more animations and also concept art for the 1999 anime short that they're going to be working on for the release of Warframe 99. This is some character art right here, definitely looking cool, but all in all, in this dev stream, they didn't go into 1999 or also Soulframe all that much. This one right here was mainly focused on KOUMEI and the Five Fates, and I'm sure there is a lot to come with that. If you haven't already, check out my recent Harmony guide, the heaviest hitting melee weapon in the game right now. Another massive shout out to Niels V, Demon Lord Zell, Demon Emperor, Emperor Prime, Nost Linux Gaming, Turtle Pier, OndaConio 2, Streamjet21, SignUpKing 5000, Mihawk HE, Yagis, Hokey Hunter, and all generous channel members for your continuous support. We see each other, hopefully in the next one, and until then, as always, good loot, have a nice weekend, and time for me to go back to bed. Bye-bye.